All right, I know I've told you many of the things that I've been doing over the years is great, like the pressure washer or the garage or the sauna cabinets or something, just great. This is the next thing that I feel like check the box of bucket list stuff. Now, before you get crazy, I have an 83-inch OLED. It doesn't match the sound. We're gonna upgrade that at some point. I'm taking progressive steps here in life. We don't get to just go right to the Ferrari when you're 16 years old. So come on into the home theater and let me show you what we're working with here. So the room is 24 deep by roughly 30 feet wide, depending on how you measure it and where you measure it. And we now have a 7.3.4 system. So we have 3 subwoofers effectively. I'll explain that. We have our 7 bed layer channels, and then we have our 4 height channels that are overhead. So we have Marantz, we have JTR, Accurus is in here right now, and the LG OLED TV. So let's kind of walk through the individual components, and then I'll talk about how it all works together, and I guess I'll tell you the story of how this stuff comes about. So let's start with the mains. To me, the most important part of a home theater are the left and right channel. I mean, the center channel carries the load, but for me, I like looking at the left and right. I was introduced to JTR as an option when I built my personal first dedicated room like this at the Woodgate house. And I was looking for a subwoofer that could really, create an impact in the room. The problem with that room is that my doorway was, essentially where this subwoofer is. The doorway was here, so I could only do one sub. So I want to do a really big sub. And so I started searching around. I don't even know how I found them. Maybe it was the forums, or maybe it was one of you that suggested it to me as I was videoing the process. This would have been March of 2016, or May of 2016, right around that time frame. And I found JTR. I found Seaton and JTR. And Jeff from JTR had this insane option, which was called a new subwoofer we had called a 4000 ULF. As big as this sucker is, I'm 6'2", as big as this sucker is, the 4000 ULF is a couple inches taller, and it's like twice as deep as this and a little bit wider. That is a ported subwoofer, dual 18s, and I wanted to get it in a fancy wood finish, and so he made me it in a zebra wood finish. Shipped it to me. I think the thing weighs like 300 pounds or something like that. This was a video of me and Ryan when he was really little. He's like 5 or 6 years old. I guess he would have been 6 then, pushing, me and him trying to push it across the carpet. But I'd never considered JTR speakers, the main channels. They just look like DJ speakers. They look like something you'd have at a concert. And I just wasn't really interested. I'm a sucker for form. The form and function thing. I'd probably lean 60-40 on the form side of stuff. Function's very important to me, but I wanted to look the part. And so at the time, I didn't even consider it. So I had Revel Performa 3s in that theater. And then, of course, you've seen me fall in love all over again with Dynaudio, and that's what was in this room before. The other thing that turned me off of the potential of doing these speakers in the Oasis series was as a horn. And I don't really like horns. I'm very sensitive to bright or higher frequencies. And so I'm like, there's no way I'm going to like a horn. So I don't want a big black box. It looks like a DJ speaker. The woofers are paper cone. They look cheap. The horn, I'm going to hate how that sounds. It's going to be too bright for me. And I didn't even realize that the horn is a 3-way driver. So there's a mid-range and a compression driver inside of there. And so I'd never considered it. I knew Jeff was a genius with subwoofers, and I thought he just kind of threw these together. That was my judgment based on look. And probably some of you are judging the same thing here. So fast forward to just here recently, my friends and now business partners, Michael Stevens has JTR, Rusty has JTR. I was able to experience JTR a little bit at the M-Wave event that Michael Stevens puts on. And but I walked in that room, and the way they had it set up, it was doing like 150 decibels. I'm just not interested in that. It's just too much for me. So I walked in, walked out, and so I still had never gotten to experience the speakers. So I was in this search for something else in the theater realm. As much as I love Dynaudio, this was a great setup the way we had it in here. What I call a gentleman's family room theater. Certainly not dedicated. But the thing I felt like I was missing, even at the Lady Lake House that I've since sold to Rusty, where I had the Dynaudio Contour system with NAD amplification, preamplification, I always felt like for movies, if you're low volume listening, music, it was very gentleman-y, it's like a Porsche, just, like it'd be like a Porsche Turbo. But I really want GT3 for home theater. It was missing that snap, that impact. But what I don't want the snap with the bright. A lot of people love that kind of bright, tinny sound. I just can't handle it. It hurts. It gives me a headache, hurts my ears. It's like a weird feeling that I can't explain. And so I'm still not really interested in this big black box. And so now, Rusty's got these speakers and Michael's got these speakers, and we're starting this home theater business, and they're like end game. Michael Stevens is like, look, I've heard it all. Maybe not all, but most of it. I've looked at higher end stuff. Stuff that is perceived as being much higher end because it's much, much more expensive. Things that are 4, 5, 6, 8 times the price. And Michael's like, look, even if I had millions of dollars in the bank, my end game would be this. So I'm like, man, why are these guys, maybe they just can't hear right. Maybe they just have different hearing than I do. And so, Rusty, same thing. But Rusty loves the Dynaudio Core, Core 5s. He loves the Heritage Specials in the garage. So I'm like, what is wrong with this guy? How can he love a horn, big black box? And I thought, well, maybe they just like to get punished when they're watching a movie. And so we booked some time. I went down to Michael Stevens Theater. I knew we were going to sell it on the site, but I wasn't feeling that kind of that Krenzla flutter I get in my gut, where I'm like, man, this is gonna work for me. I'm really gonna like it. And I sat down, and I kid you not, in maybe 11 seconds, I just knew. It was like, oh my gosh, this is what I've been looking for my whole life. I remember the J&R Music World catalog. I think they're out of this New York City, and I'd be looking through that catalog in my early teens, shopping for audio systems. I've always been in love with audio and sound, and it's sort of morphed into movies and video. And this is the exact sound signature that I've been looking for my whole life. And I've never owned it. I've never had anything like this. And so now we have it here in Helen First, because this room is great. This is the room that, other than the doors in the back, with the glass, this is the type of room that I like. I'm just not a theater seat, sconce, popcorn machine kind of guy. I've never wanted that. I don't know how to explain it. I never wanted that theater you kind of walk down into. I wanted it like a family room on steroids, which is what this now feels like. So we now have the JTR. These are the 212 reference monitors, 212 RM. So you have two 12-inch woofers. We have a single horn compression driver, but this is a two-way design horn, so it's a three-way speaker. So you have this big giant magnet structure. I'm excited to learn more about how that functions, talking with Jeff, but there's a big old horn, and then, or a big old magnet, and then that's behind the horn, and then there's the high frequency driver, the compression driver that creates the high frequencies. And the thing that really connected with why these work is Jeff Permanian, who's the mad scientist behind this. We're sitting in this room, and he said, he's always very, very specific. His talks very, very kind of soft-spoken, but you can tell he's got a giant brain in that head of his. He said, I hear like Matt does. where I'm real sensitive to. There's a couple of frequencies. We start talking about shell filters and how he's built the crossovers to help with that brightness that he doesn't like either. And so you have the reference monitors. They do make these in a 10-inch version, and they make them in a 15-inch version, where you have 15-inch woofers. I can't imagine needing 15s. I mean, maybe if you had a much bigger room, I'll probably end up getting them somewhere in my life just because it exists. But I'm telling you, the price. So we're $30,700 in speakers, excluding the rear near-field subwoofers that we set up. So the 2 subs, the 7 other speakers. So we have the 9 channels of speakers was only $2,700 more than the Dynaudio stuff. Now, fit and finish, the Dynaudio was much better. The size was much more practical for any type of room, but I cannot explain to you the size, scale, and impact. I wish I could somehow play this and translate it to you through the camera. And I know many of you are going to get angry. You need to really put your thinking cap on here. I'm got a microphone. It goes to the camera, it compresses it, then it gets sent to a laptop, which compresses it, and then we edit, and then we export, which has to be compressed in order to fit on YouTube. We upload it to YouTube, and we compress it, and then you watch it on your iPhone. I don't understand what you're supposed to get out of that. So then we're getting copyright protected, so it doesn't work. So I'm not playing anything in here, so you can just shut the video off now if that's what you're looking for. That is completely pointless and has no purpose. So the front channels are the 212RMs, and then we have the 212 HTR. So this is essentially the same speaker turned on its side in a smaller cabinet, but you can see it's also ported. But it's the same 3-way design. Same woofers, same compression driver, same mid-range, same setup. I'm sure there may be some tweaks in the crossover, but this, I know, it's in a cabinet. I think I'm probably going to keep the darn cabinet. I'm not sure what I'm going to do here long term if we do a projector or a larger screen. But for now, I spent $5,000 on this darn Restoration Hardware cabinet. We were able to get a little bit of angle. Mike moved the shelf down and took some shims and taped them. So we have a nice little rake, about a 6-degree rake on the center channel to angle toward the listening position. I'm sure you maybe get a little bit of cabinet resonance, but as long as we keep it toward the face, maybe we lose a little bit of the size and scale. But I need to put it somewhere. I need it to function. So then the rear channels are essentially the same speaker with a slightly different enclosure. These were the brackets, Dynaudio brackets, these are made for the LYD Studio Monitor series, but I'm using these brackets I was using them for the Evoke 20s that were in the back here, the bookshelves. Well, we were able to repurpose the brackets, and we had to drill the speaker, which made Michael cringe. But I drilled the speaker, and so we have this is a 110, so a single 10-inch driver, and this is a 2-way design, and then the compression driver is in the middle. So it's a coaxial type speaker. The advantage of that is you have a single point source. So the mid-range, the high frequencies, and whatever low frequencies these produce come from the same position. And so there's some advantages to having a coaxial type design. And these speakers here make up our left and right channels. So for the 5.1 or the 5 channel of the 5.1. And then we have our back surrounds, which you would call 7.1 or 7 channel. I keep saying 0.1. 0.1 would be the LFE channel, the low frequency channel. So these are all 4 the exact same. And then it's going to be really hard for you to see because of the lighting and the dark ceiling because these disappear. We have the same brackets. The only difference is we drilled the back and bottom of the speaker so that they're really stoutly installed, and then they're bolted through the trusses up there, the metal trusses. And so these are what's called the SL version of the slant. And so they're angled at roughly 25 degrees from the main listening position. And so that makes up your 7-channel surround. And I cannot explain to you how freaking dynamic and wild it is. So the subwoofers in the front here are called RS2s. So it is a 4,000 watt amplifier. And so the way that we had to structure the power in this room in order to make sure we, get good clean power, but also have not trip breakers. All the circuits in this house are 20 amp, and so that's helpful. But this subwoofer is on the room circuit. So we really don't have anything else in this room. So lighting has its own circuit on 20 amp, and then all the outlets in this room have another 20 amp. So this subwoofer is on the room's 20 amp circuit. And it seems to be functioning okay, seems to be working well. And then this subwoofer over here, so the amplifiers, preamplifier, TV, Apple TV, so those 5 things, and this subwoofer are on a new dedicated 20 amp that Mike put in, right? So the reason why we moved, and I've got this janky extension cord for now, we're gonna make a new, bigger 10 gauge power cord, is we were getting a ground loop for some reason. I wasn't getting the loop on that subwoofer, but we were getting a hum through the speakers. When we came to our new dedicated 20 amp, it went away, and so we're gonna run a big fat power cord to plug in our TV and then components. And so this subwoofer and those components will be fine on a dedicated 20 amp. I think these will draw somewhere around 10 amps peak. And then if we have another 10 amps of headroom for our Class D amplifiers and preamp, we'll be perfectly fine there. And then we have one final circuit for the near field subwoofers that are in the back. But these guys here are called the RS2. Obviously 2 18-inch woofers. It's pretty wild. The rubber surround is pretty nasty. You go back and watch Michael's video, the magnet is big, giant. I want to say the subs weigh 90 pounds a piece. These are sealed subwoofers, so 4,000 watt amplifier, dedicated to this. There's a big old crossover inside of here. And then I think these weigh 235 pounds or something like that each. So solid, all the cabinets are made out of Baltic birch. There's tons of bracing inside of here. It's a darn big black box, but a masterpiece. And what do they say? There's no replacement for displacement. So 18-inch woofers, we're getting some air moving in here. And that was my plan. Everything was great. Perfect. We were going to use the NAD stuff for now. I had an NAD T778. These are extremely efficient speakers. So the 778 is a receiver. And then I had a C268 amplifier, which is like 100 watts per channel, I believe. That was powering the Height 2 pair. All the other speakers were powered by the receiver, except I had a C298, which is roughly 400 watts per channel for the front pair. It's beautiful. It's great. It's going to work fine. And then Jeff was sitting here, and somehow it came up in conversation. Remember, don't forget, I've got those subwoofers in the back of my truck for your customer. And we had been talking about, well, technically the size of this room, these subwoofers are going to do fine, but my long-term goal would be to put 2 more in the rear, not for more amplitude, but for just better, cleaner dispersion. It helps make the subwoofers disappear when you have more of them, where you can really calibrate and get rid of nulls and dead spots and get more uniform low frequency, and you can get a little bit more impact because you're moving more air in the room. And Jeff says, I got those RS1s, make sure we transplant those, and we're going to take those home for our customer that's local to us. And I said, I had that little bing in my head. I said, well, I'm feeling flush at the moment. I just sold the Dynaudio speakers. Would those RS1s, which is basically half of this, would those work? And then I saw Rusty and Michael's eyes light up. I said, oh my gosh, that would be amazing. So I haven't finished the wiring here. I'm going to make this look real pretty as I can. And so this is what you call a near field subwoofer. So it's essentially touching or impacting the seating position. And so think of this as, even though it's 4 boxes, with the way we have this calibrated or tuned for the room, this is just one big subwoofer. But when you add sub 3 in a different position in the room, calibration becomes paramount. And so my NAD wasn't going to work. The NAD doesn't even have two discrete, even though it has two sub outs, it's not discrete. It's just basically a Y adapter inside of the preamp. It also doesn't have Dirac base calibration or base, what they call base control, which is another upgrade to the Dirac software. So we weren't going to be able to really calibrate the system properly. So then we started scrambling. I didn't have the XLR cables here, and so our friend Eric, one of Michael's followers, he's been a longtime OG follower as well, lives in Atlanta. We called Eric, said, Eric, do you have any XLR cables? Yeah, I got them. I can come up. I'm only like an hour away. And you wouldn't happen to have a mini DSP. So think of this, the low frequency effects or LFE channel would come out of the 778, but we need it to go three ways. We need to have some control of it. And so mini DSP has one input and four outputs. And so then in the software of the mini DSP, then you can tune or calibrate to make the subwoofers work. Problem is, none of us really know how to do that. It's pretty sophisticated, so that was going to be a full day's work to try to get it right. And so we were resigned to the plan we're going to use the Accurus stuff. So we have the Accurus M8 amps that we're testing out, and we have the Accurus Muse that we brought up here that we were testing out. And then I asked Rusty, well, how much is that? If I want to leave it here, I got to buy the things. And so then we went on this escapade to try to get the Muse to function for this room. The calibration's a bit more sophisticated, it seems, than we're capable. It just wasn't, we just couldn't get it to work right. And it's also, the menu system is quite a bit more pro. It needs work. It needs some, continued software upgrades and updates. And so here at the Helen House, we have people come and borrow this for money, and I can't have something that is not super simple. So now the system functions very simply. The other problem with the Accurus, it doesn't have what's called consumer electronic control, CEC control over HDMI. And so we weren't able to get it to work and be sort of seamless and simple for everybody. You're going to have three different remotes, and you're going to be kind of jockeying back and forth. And so now I was able to, Michael with his connections and his friends that he has all over the place, was able to call Tom at Marantz, who's our representative for Marantz. We're hoping to become a Marantz dealer. Marantz AV10 is bulletproof, tried and true. It's a $7,000 preamp. I figured I was already in this deep. I bought the freaking subwoofers. And so the AV10 has four discrete subwoofer outputs with both XLR and RCA. So we're able to connect our subwoofers properly. So subwoofer left and right. So subwoofer 1, subwoofer 2, subwoofer 3. We cut the carpet, cut the pad of the carpet, ran a dedicated power line. So big fat, 10 gauge power line. It might even be 8 gauge. And then we ran our XLR to the back, which Eric's brought us. We didn't need to use the mini DSP, and we were able to calibrate. I had to pay $600 for the most sophisticated version of Dirac. We were able to run a Dirac calibration last night, and it's magical. So the 11th hour, by the way, we were supposed to leave this a couple hours ago, and so I'm having to extend my stay, and we're gonna mad scramble because we do have somebody coming to borrow the house tomorrow, but now it's working. So we're gonna test out and continue to work with the Accurus M8 amps. I'll probably test out some Buckeye amps here as well, but at least for the next few weeks until I come back up, the Accurus amps will stay in play here, and we'll be able to, people will be able to come and experience it. So imagine, when you come into this room, hopefully people are smart enough to watch the video, you've got to open the cabinet. Otherwise, you're not going to hear any voice. Or you're going to hear it's going to sound like this, which you don't want to have happen. So you're going to open the doors. You do have to, and this is a little clunky, but you do have to open these doors just a crack. Otherwise, the cabinet wants to explode. So you need to open these up. You're going to come sit down. Single remote control. The way that this functions is over HDMI. You're able to control the device by just hitting any button. TV turns on, the Marantz turns on, the amplifiers turn on. Simple. Can't get any simpler than that. This will control volume. It'll control, the Apple TV. And so imagine you're coming to rent this house. I hate to, borrow means rent, you get it. But you have full access to, so I have a subscription for YouTube TV, Apple TV Plus, Netflix, Prime Video, Hulu, Paramount Plus, Max, so HBO and Cinemax. Paramount Plus, we have Showtime through that, ESPN Plus, Disney Plus, obviously YouTube, which most people log in on their own. And so we have access to all of this. Plus, I have a small movie library here that I purchased movies. You could also rent the movie if you wanted to. Chances are you're going to want to watch one of these. And so you come here and you're able to listen however you want or watch whatever you want. I also have Apple Music, so you could go into here and listen to whatever you want as well. There is some high-res stuff through Apple TV and through Apple Music. But the system's super functional, super simple. I hold the button down to turn it off, and anybody, any kid, any adult, anybody can come in here and listen. And you're going to sit with your back against the near-field subwoofers and just get annihilated. It's so cool. But the key signature to this system is, the reason I love Dynaudio so much is that I get to listen at high volumes if I want to, without the fatigue. I'm not getting beaten up. The problem with Dynaudio for home theater is it's missing that impact, the dynamics that I'm looking for. It's very laid back, which I enjoy. I like that sound. But when I'm watching, John Wick 4, I'd like to get beaten up a little bit, but not in the ears, in the body. And so this system has that snap, that impact you're looking for, where we're listening to reference volume, between 85 and 110 decibels, 115 decibels at some of the really major impacts. And we're able to, as you might imagine, these subwoofers are moving some air. You can feel it. You get to experience it without your ears bleeding. And so this system is pretty darn fantastic. It's exactly what I was hoping for. I was hoping to do this on Monday or I guess it would have been Friday when we first got here. We're experiencing it on Wednesday the following week, but that's part of the fight. So upgrades for this room. Acoustic treatments I think are fine. I failed to mention we have, I think, 26 or 7 acoustic panels running down the center. And then the back walls, first and second reflection points, we're hoping to cover up as much. I would like to do some fabric type blackout shades for the windows over there. We are going to also do some, Jeff was in here, he said, the one thing that'll make a really big impact is put some significant bass traps in these corners on the sort of the left and right longer walls, and that will really help with bass reflection coming back this way. So we'd want to absorb that bass. The obvious thing that we would like to change is the display. So this is the biggest practical OLED. I don't like LCD, so everybody's screaming at the screen. You need to get a high sense, blah blah blah. This is just not great. I am a bit more of a video file than I'm an audio file. This is ISF calibrated. So the next step will be to put a kaleidoscope in here, because when you stream, your audio isn't as high a quality, and your video also is nowhere near as good as it could be. So we'll put a kaleidoscope in, and that'll be our next step, a Strato V and a Terra server. And then we'll look at, I'm sure that Rusty and Michael will probably talk me into doing a JVC NZ9, and a 150-inch screen or something in here. And so that would be our next step. I'm not going to be doing acoustically transparent. I don't want to build a wall, put the speakers behind it. I don't want to sacrifice that space. So I can promise you I won't be doing that. But the next step will be to upgrade the display. I mean, the size of this room, I know on camera it looks tiny, but 83 is pretty sufficient. I think we're 17 feet back. So technically you'd want something a little bit bigger, but I'd rather have quality than quantity. And that is a $40,000 upgrade to go to a projector in here. And I'm not an Epson type of guy, I'm not doing that. So that would be our next step or next upgrade. So if you're watching this video now, I am running a promotion. I'm trying to book a large percentage of 2025. We generally book somewhere around 30 to 40 weeks a year of this place. This will be my third season or third, calendar year. I've owned the house for 2.5 years. We've had such great success here with people coming to use the house, borrow it, return it back to us in great condition, sometimes better condition than they received it in. And they're going to get to come and experience. A lot of the people that come to this house have, they may have some sort of home theater in their house, but I don't know the too many that have something like this. And so this is going to be great news for Jeff from JTR, because I guarantee you a good percentage of the people that come and listen to this are going to want this. And so I built a business, Obsessed Home Theater, with Rusty and Michael. You can go to the website now. We're building that in the vein of Obsessed Garage, where we're curating and looking for the best products on the planet, putting them together, and creating an experience, and really just making the decision that at this price point, I think these are the best speakers money can buy. You could certainly spend more. You can certainly find things that will probably eclipse this, but you're gonna have to spend a boatload more, and it's just not practical to me. I have a GT3 RS. I don't have a 488 Pista. I don't have a Koenigsegg. So these are the sort of the GT3 RS of speakers, and they're at I would argue they're at like Toyota Supra money, which is pretty freaking cool. So anyway, if you want to come to this place, I'm just slowly getting things sort of, I guess, upgraded from the initial dialed in. We added that crazy racing sim. We're going to be putting in dual Krenzla. I'm building a bike closet I have 5 mountain bikes here that you can go out and rip around in the mountains. Just leveling up all the different components, parts and pieces. We're talking about doing a per-listen system up in the family room upstairs. This is going to be really cool. It'll be really cool for you if you come and experience this stuff. So anyway, thanks for watching this series. You can go check out the whole vlog of us struggling to get this to work. Today I'm going to button up. The Wabas are leaving, so I wanted to just button up this video, but I've got to button up some of the wiring, and it's good for the next, through 2 or 3 months before I can get back up here and do the next step, which would be, I'm not going to probably bring Clyde Escape. That's a big investment, though. So thanks for watching, and go to obsessedgarage.com to book this house. Go to Obsessed Home Theater if you're interested. We got our JTR stuff built. Just go check out, poke around the site, get yourself an Obsessed Home Theater shirt, and help support Michael and Rusty in our cause here to go and curate a really awesome set of solutions for the home theater, with our ascent to eventually be designing from start to finish, and who knows, maybe even installing in the future. So this is a crazy system. I'm really, really, really pleased with it. You know me, I'd tell you if I hated it and say we're going to rip it out and take it home and do something different. This is exactly what I've been searching for 44 years, and now I have it, and I feel super fortunate to have experienced it and now own it. Next step is to build one in my house in Florida. Thanks for watching. See you soon.